And I did want to say this in Turkish, but it sounded a little complicated. I would still try, but then I'll be making fun of myself. So I didn't. So I stopped there.
I really want to hear the word that you tried to speak.
Seriously, don't make fun, okay? I'm not making fun. I really wanted to, because basically, marhaba, symposiumun bir podcast. No, I'm not getting the word right. Perchasi, perkasi. Perkasi, how do you say it?
Which one again?
Perchasi. Let me put it up to you. Let me put up for you. This is how you can pronounce it. I also tried the pronunciation online, but this is how it was.
Let me read it.
Yeah.
Merhaba, sempozyumun bir parçası olduğunuz için teşekkür ederiz. Seansı gerçekten sabırsızlıkla bekliyorum. Türkçe ayrı bir seans yaparsak güzel olur.
Okay, so did you ever think I would get that?
Your first word, merhaba, which is hello,
that was perfect.
Really nice. Yeah.
Okay, so marhaba. I can't go beyond that. I will have to practice. So definitely one day we'll get there. So of course, Turkish session would have been nice, but I'm sure you had your time constraints. So thank you very much, Sezil, to be here.
Thank you very much for having me today, and thank you very much for the nicest ever welcome as the introduction. I loved your Turkish, and I will try the same in an Indian language in our second session.
And hopefully it'll be a little easier. It'll be a little easier than this. I try. Look, I don't know. It's maybe a matter of taking it slowly, because I put that pronunciation thing there. The Google Translate one, it goes too fast. Like you went so fast that to stop at, I think I have to get the pronunciation of each letter. That's the first thing I'll have to do.
Yeah.
Which we'll definitely do that. So yeah. So Sezil,
we will teach each other.
Exactly. So we take it slowly, word by word, because language, I think, makes a difference. I think language definitely makes a difference in introduction and creating a little connection. I think it does.
Yeah. Definitely.
So Sezil, what's it going to be? First, you have to tell us about yourself, then the symposium, and you have to give me then in the middle 30 seconds to talk about the symposium, and then we take it from there. So please.
Okay. Okay, my name is Sezil. I live in Istanbul, Turkey, and I'm a lawyer. I've been practicing law for 10 years, and since the last 5 years, I've been practicing mediation mostly. I met with mediation through my journey in negotiation, because I was working in contracts law and I was trying to learn something more in negotiation. And while I was teaching myself further about negotiation, I met mediation, which was a big question mark for me that time. But as I said, I fell in love with it. And since last 5 years, I've been practicing mostly mediation, and the attorney side of my law background is just fading away. So I'm really happy about it. And this new profession made me to meet people like you. And this is a great honor for me.
So nice. I think we'll have to, of course, as we go along this aspect of attorneys and practice of mediation in Turkey, you will, of course, take us through that. So what I'm going to do is just give me I just need that 1 minute to put it out there, only because there is, information is all available in posts and everything, but no one definitely goes and reads what I write. So let's just put it up there. Going to mediatorvikram.com is what all I have to say. Actually, there's nothing beyond that. So go there, you'll find all the information. The schedule of the symposium is up there. Okay, look, Sezil, these are the people in this symposium this time. And of course, like I say, that we've got some kind of a viewpoint from various parts of the world, but it has to be much larger. So next year, that symposium on mediation in our culture and traditions will become larger. Last year it was 97 speakers. We should take it to at least 300. Let's see how it works. So that's how it is. And of course, contact details, and then shows and events, definitely. So the link to the schedule is there. So all the YouTube links are there. World Mediation Circle. Sezil, did you ever get a chance to go to this website, mediatorvikram.com?
Yeah, I did. And it looks really nice.
Did you read about the World Mediation Circle? Because I definitely will talk to you about that. That's about all it. I won't go into further. I don't want to waste your time. So all about colonization, decolonization, and mediation. So Sezil, please.
Okay. Do I have a chance to share
Yeah.
screen? Okay. Okay. Do you see my screen right now?
Yeah, it's just about coming up. It's about coming up. But it's not coming up.
Okay.
It says it started screen sharing, but for some reason the screen is not coming up.
Do you hear my voice right now?
Yeah.
Okay. My screen is okay. I have a problem which I cannot. Can you try to close the screen that I shared, because I
Yeah.
can't do anything right now. It's frozen.
I've closed it. You are frozen also. Now you're okay.
Okay, now I will try to do it once more.
Yeah, if there's any problem, you can just send me the slides. I'll open it up.
Okay, let me try again. If we cannot, then I will do this. Okay, how is it right now?
Yes, it's up.
Okay, so you see 3 words on the screen: mediation in empire, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My topic for you today is the mediation in empire. And when I say empire, of course, I will talk about Ottoman Empire, because that's the empire that I know the best. For those who don't know, what is Ottoman Empire is the one which is a Turkish empire ruled between medieval ages to modern age. And we may say that it was a state. It is called as a state since 13th century, and then it is called as an empire beginning from 15th century until 20th century, which in that period of time, Turkish Republic was founded. What I will talk about today relates to the empire state of Ottoman Empire, which starts from 15th century and ends in 20th century. But before diving into the issue, I would like to talk a little bit about what is imperialism and what is colonialism. Because when I say Ottoman Empire, I'm not talking about a colonialism, I'm talking about imperialism. When we look at the dictionaries like Cambridge Dictionary that I have taken those words from, there seems to be not so difference, because in both definitions, there is one powerful country and takes control of the other country. So they seem to be the same thing. But when we look at books about politics and history, we see that there are some differences between them. Most writers have imperialism as a driving ideology, like the main opinion about the system, whereas they take colonialism as a way of doing it. So it seems like, according to theories in politics, the imperialism is the ideology, but there are many ways of doing it, and colonialism is just one of them. According to some books, colonialism includes having people to move to new regions as a permanent settlers, or exploiting the resources of the new areas, whereas in imperialism, there's no such thing. But for the purposes of today's topic, the difference between them is not really important for us. What is important for us is the common points between them, which is taking control of some other territories and having minorities inside the system. With all my respect, I'm leaving the difference between imperialism and colonialism to historians and politicians, and I will go on from there. But I would like to underline the fact that Ottoman is called as an empire, according to historians and politicians. That's why I pick the name of my title as an empire. That was the reasoning behind it. Before diving into the topic, I would like to locate the geography that I am talking about. The green areas that you see on the globe are the areas where the Ottoman Empire reached its widest territories. And let me check the date. The date is 1683. That's the largest territory of Ottoman Empire. But in order to have a better understanding, we need to look a little bit closer And that's the more detailed map of that period of time. Here, let me show you, just a second, please. Here you see Anatolia, which is current Turkish Republic, but I think I made it a little bit bigger. Let me draw it again. It is something like this. Yes. And the rest of the territories that you see in different colors are the minorities in Ottoman Empire. Different colors show different minorities in terms of religion, in terms of ethnic, in terms of language, and etc. So there was a question mark in Ottoman Empire how to establish a legal system that can govern both Turkish people and other minorities. Before talking about real details about mediation, I wanted to show you who are we talking about. I really had huge fun trying to find those photographs. These are photographs, actual photographs from 19th century Ottoman people. Now I will tell you which person is from which geography to make a clear understanding on your mind. While doing this, I need to take some copies from here. Let me see.
But Sezil, why are you not wearing one of these?
Because I couldn't find them in the stores.
It would have been nice. It would have been nice. Next year's symposium, everyone has to wear something from their area.
That would be really nice. Where are my notes? Okay, I couldn't find. Anyway, these three women are from Balkans. Okay, let me show you where is Balkans. It's around here. As you see, Sofia here in yellow part of the world. Okay, this is Balkans as we call, and these three women are from Balkans. These three women are from Anatolia, which is the current territories of Turkish Republic around here. One of them is from the center of Anatolia, one of them is Kurdish, and the other one is from Armenia, somewhere around here. And people in this picture, two men and one woman, are from Cyprus. Cyprus is the little island here, as you see in purple. And finally, people in the left, people on the right picture, those three women are from Damascus. Oh, sorry. An area here in Syria today. So you see many people coming from Sofia to Anatolia to Damascus. These are the people that I will talk about today. As I said before, the time period is between 1500s to 20th century. And these are the photographs of the people that I could find from 1800s archives. So, as there were many people living under the empire from many different backgrounds, there was a complex legal system in Ottoman Empire. Each minority and Turkish people had their own legal systems in terms of private law and in terms of criminal law. The exception is that the relation between the Sultan, like taxes, of course, there was one unified system in terms of administrative things, but in terms of private things, which means that relation between you and me, personal stuff, these were regulated by the laws of each minority, which were back at that time, mostly religious laws. But this is not enough. It creates a lot of mess and it creates a question mark on how to use it. So we needed a system of conflict resolution. Okay, there are many laws, but how are we going to apply them? Of course, there are too many details, but in the concept of today's topic, I will talk about two distinctions. One of them was judges, the court system as we know today, and the other one are called muslihun in Old Ottoman language, which can be translated as peacemaker. In the left picture here, you see an actual judge from Ottoman Empire, again from 1800s. Most of the time we think that all judges from back centuries are more like, old people and, big mustaches and etc. But this one really surprised me. So I wanted to use that picture. He's a judge from 18th centuries. And on the right side, you see a picture. It's no one particular. I mean, it's an art piece. And the person in the art piece is no one related in conflict resolution. It's just a regular person in Ottoman Empire. And I used that picture to show you a person who is a peacemaker. So we had two systems. Either you can go to a courthouse and claim your rights, or you can go to peacemaker and do mediation as we know today. Whatever you know today about mediation, mostly applicable to peacemaking process in Ottoman Empire.
Sezil, what is the name for the peacemaker you said? What word was used?
Muslihun. Muslihun. Yes. If you ask any Turkish person today, they will not know what is it. It's like Shakespearean in English. It's old word. So the question is, what was he doing? What was a peacemaker's job? Actually, it was anything related to mediation. Anything related to private law or criminal law can be subject to the tasks of peacemaker. Any person in the Ottoman Empire, despite of the religious background or ethnic background, can apply to peacemaker. And the concept can be anything legal or social. So any legal disputes between you and me, or any social dispute between you and me, whether it's private or criminal, and no matter what is your background, can go to peacemaker. So I wanted to see some examples from that. For example, did really different minorities applied the peacemaker system? What happened if a Turkish person and a person from a different minority had a dispute, and could they go to peacemaking process and had a result out of it? So I made a research about specific examples, and I found really interesting ones. So with reading from here on my page, I will give you some examples. For example, I will mention an example from 17th century. In that example, this is an example between two Turkish Muslim person. One of them is a craftsman and the other one purchases a product from that craftsman, and one of them does not make full payments, so they go to peacemaker, and the peacemaker resolves the issue. One of them requests 76 money, let's say money. It is called akçe at that time, but let's call it lira. One of them requests 76 liras and they agree on 30 liras. And that was brought to judge and registered in the system as a settlement made in the peacemaking process. Another example I will give you is really surprising one, as I guess. Let me show you the geography. In an area around here, there are two villages, and there's a mayor that was appointed from the head of the state, and that mayor collects more taxes from two villages that he should collect. Therefore, the heads of the villages apply to peacemaking process and make a complaint regarding extra taxes. Actually, they go to judge first, but they cannot prove, because back at that time, there are no bank transfers, so probably they have some difficulties in terms of proving what they really paid. So judge makes no decisions. So they go to peacemaking process, and there is a peacemaker appointed to that dispute, and they make a resolution. The villagers request 4,000 liras back. They agree upon 1,000 liras to be paid back by the mayor to the villagers. So there's a big difference, but still they have a resolution. Same examples are many of them, but I will give you one more interesting example. In that example, a husband sells his wife, and the wife goes to peacemaker, makes a claim, and the peacemaker resolves the issue so the husband will not sell his wife again and pay some money to his wife. That was really interesting. I couldn't find any details. That certainly I needed some details to understand that dispute, but that was an interesting one again. There are also occasions in which there is one Muslim Turkish and another minority from different backgrounds of religion and ethnic, and they have certain disputes, mostly related to private law. For example, in one occasion, one minority leases a store from a Muslim person, a Turkish Muslim, and they have a dispute because accordingly, the lessor does not have any authority to lease that store because he's not the landlord. So they have a dispute. Again, peacemaker comes and solves the issue. The interesting thing is that there are different systems of applying this. For example, sometimes people go to court and the judge tells them that you should go to peacemaker rather than me. Sometimes people go to peacemaker directly rather than going to judge first, and the peacemaker provides them two opportunities. You can either just make a handshake over the resolution, or we can make a written settlement. We can go to judge and register this settlement in front of the judge. And therefore, none of you will be able to take this same dispute to the judge again. So it will be a final resolution between you and me. That was really surprising for me because this is the system that we apply today. So it's really interesting. I researched a little bit about who can be the peacemaker, and it seems that there are no rules about it. It can be your relatives, it can be your neighbors and friends. The thing that we discussed today about impartiality, the mediator should be a person who's not one of your friends or neighbors and etc., doesn't seem to apply back then. It can be anyone. Usually, even though it's not a necessity, usually there are high-profile people with culture, some sort of knowledge about the legal system and etc. But it's not a necessity. For example, I found one occasion in which a random store owner applied a peacemaking process between two customers. So it can be anyone. There is no necessity by means of knowledge. And interestingly, there is no necessity by means of the background. There are occasions in which peacemaker is one of the minorities and deals with the disputes among the minorities. So it can be just anyone. Here, let me give you another example and I will come back to issue. Now, I will take you somewhere else. It's not about Ottoman Empire. It's not in the same period of time. I'm talking something really different. This is a man from Kalahari Desert. He is a member of a primitive tribe called Bushmen. They live in the Kalahari Desert. They are nomads and they are hunters and gatherers. They live in groups of 25 people, around 25 people, and they are around 500 groups. So you may say 25 people in one house and 500 houses in close locations. Interestingly, they have no leaders. So they are small. They don't have any leadership, so they are really different from Ottoman Empire. Yet they are called one of the most peaceful societies on earth, according to anthropologists. Therefore, anthropologists visit them and ask questions about their conflict resolution systems. Their conflict resolution relies on a system called Kgotla. Kgotla is their miracle. It is something like mediation, something like circles as we know today. And the idea is, if you and me have a problem in the tribe, we make a circle, including everyone in the group, all 25 people, and we try to find a solution, and we have to find a solution. There is no way like not finding a solution. If tensions rise, then other people go and hide the arrows so that no one hurts each other. If one of us wants to go, wants to avoid the situation and leave the group, then the rest of them try to find that person who leaves, bring him back, and make him talk. So dialogue is necessary. You have no other option. So they resolve every conflict with that circle. Every decision is taken anonymously. So without anonymity, there's no resolution. And every vote counts the same, as there's no leadership in the system. I will give you one another example, and it comes from Malaysia, from the rainforests in Malaysia. This time, the name of the group is called Semai, and the name of the system is called Bekara. Actually, they apply very similar system, but they have another content in the system, which is about the kids in the group. If kids have any problems in the tribe, they apply the same circle. All the kids in the tribe come together, make a circle, discuss the dispute, and find a solution that is acceptable for all kids in the tribe. Interestingly, parents never advise a solution to the kids. They only teach them how to do Bekara. The similarities between a huge empire and a small tribe is the opportunity. When you give people an opportunity to discuss their differences and disputes in a social mechanism, whether it's a circle, whether it's a peacemaking process, whether it's mediation, facilitation, however you call it. But the main idea is negotiation, and the main idea beneath negotiation is communication. As you establish a system, a social mechanism, people use it. According to historians, one of the reasons why so many minorities lived under Ottoman Empire for such a long time are the opportunities like this peacemaking process. It's not the only one, of course, but systems like this. Establishing a bridge between different groups and different opinions seems to be the only option we have. Those two tribes that I have shown you, again, I must underline, are called one of the most peaceful societies on earth, according to anthropologists. So it seems like communication mechanisms are proven among us to be successful. We don't need any other proof for them. So the question comes, what kind of institutions we have in our modern societies? The first example I gave you was from medieval ages and modern age, but it was not today. It was a old system of using it. And the second example I gave you was just a system in primitive tribes. But in modern systems, we have a lot more complex systems. So the question comes such as, can we still apply those systems? And the answer seems to be yes. Still, we can apply the same system. Maybe some details change, but the main idea is the same. When we look at companies who are successful in conflict resolution, they have some similarities. For example, they design mandatory negotiation procedures. When I say mandatory negotiation procedures, they have some processes that requires participants to come and negotiate, like the Kugotla in Bushmen. People don't have any choice to avoid the conflict. They have to come and they have to communicate. They also design voluntary negotiation procedures. So it's just an opportunity, like the peacemaking process in the Ottoman Empire. Or they lead easy conflicts to negotiation. When I ask what is the easy conflict, the answer is most of the time workplace conflicts, like conflicts among the team members, easy conflicts that you can handle with some sort of mediation. So when easy conflicts are resolved with negotiation or mediation easily, it creates an example for other complex issues to be tried to handle with negotiation and mediation. They raise role models in terms of leaders and in terms of peers. Especially in schools, we see that raising role model peers are really important because making an example is much more easier than schools in kids rather than adults, because we adults have so many assumptions and so many judgments in our minds, but raising a kid, as everyone knows, much more easier. So having role model peers in the school changes the whole system. Having Bukharas, like in the second example, changes all the system because these are the kids of tomorrow's adults. So raising them with a knowledge and experience of negotiation, communication, and mediation changes everything. Oh, I'm sorry. They define goals, motivations, and tasks in the companies about conflict resolution, about negotiation and mediation. Of course, there is education and coaching in the companies, but as you may guess, if it is a company with thousands of employees, it's not possible to educate everyone with these capabilities. So they are necessary in terms of raising role models, but social mechanisms are much more important because these are the things that we apply, have experience, and see the results. They have community mediation and professional mediation. When I say community mediation, I mean people who act like a mediator, but are not mediators professionally, people who are not making an earning out of mediation. Just random people like HR experts or managers or leaders in the company who mediate among the disputes, and some professional mediators who are like you and me, who are making this as a profession and deal with more complex issues. The important thing that seems to me in modern complex companies and societies is that having different kind of examples in the community, like having role models and also having some voluntary negotiation procedures and also defining motivation, whatever is suitable in your company, in your society, in your neighborhood, etc., in your school, in your NGO. Having few of different types of social mechanisms is really important and really fruitful to have a useful outcome out of mediation to teach people. In Turkish, we have a saying. I would like to say the Turkish word first. It goes like this: testinin içinde ne varsa dışına da o sızar. And the English translation is, whatever is in the pot is what leaks out. It means that whatever you put inside of a community, inside of a person, inside of a being, that's the thing that you're going to get out of it. If we put social mechanisms of communication in our societies, companies, schools, institutions, NGOs, then that's the thing that we're going to get in when it comes to a conflict. So I think either in an empire, either in a school, either in a tribe, what we need is a social mechanism. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It can be adapted according to the culture of that society, habits of that society, expectations of that society. But we need certain social mechanisms. What do you think?
Really nice. This research that you've done, I think, wonderful. It's really nice that you've actually got into that. The interesting thing that's coming out is that the empire, the difference I see between the colonizer and the empire is the fact that you encourage people to actually resolve the disputes within themselves, which I think in the colonizer example, they don't want to do that. They want to establish their structure. That's where the control comes from. So I'm seeing that being a little bit of a difference between how it runs. So because you would want peace in your empire, here you want control, and no one should sit together. That's the whole idea. Divide and rule, which I keep saying, divide and rule. Don't let people sit together. That's the only way you can rule, because definitely it's not going to be based on welfare. Like you say, the people were happy in that empire, and people from all parts of the world, I mean, whatever larger part of the area that they were part of. So I think that seems to be, that's an interesting difference that's coming out between what you said, I think.
Yeah, it seems that there's a big difference between them. I'm not sure which differences are correct. So, because it's a total politics theory, so I didn't want to dive into too many details, but I wanted to give explanation why I used the empire word in the beginning of my presentation. That's why I wanted to give a little bit information about the difference. But as I said before, respectfully, I'm just leaving the issue to historians and politicians.
No, I think it's an interesting thing you brought forward, because when we talk about the whole concept of colonization, this is a very important difference. You're not getting there to actually create peace within the community and rule, because ruling is happening all the time. Today also you have a government which rules to a certain extent. In certain countries it's actually ruling. So I think that aspect is good to bring it out, and that is why the difference in the dispute resolution system, I think that's what's really coming out as to what the basic, I think, let's see, the objective. The objective is different. You're looking at a long term, people working together, and you are, in a way, of course, that ruling is sometimes it goes into a negative concept. There can be a positive ruling also. Bringing people together is also a positive thing. There can be good things happening, trade and everything happening between people. So I think that's a good thing to put out there, that this was a different concept. It wasn't like what people would want it to be, that someone comes there and just takes over the land and actually is developing something there. So that's what people keep saying, that here you were going there to extract from that area. You were extracting resources and everything, while an empire was functioning differently, because sometimes it would come out that historically there have been empires. So how is colonization different? This is, I think, where we have to bring out the difference. This is where the difference lies. So that's interesting. So other things, I think, other things that you spoke about, I think these are, I mean, of course, the symposium on indigenous peoples and mediation. I think you should have been part of that and spoken more elaborately on this aspect of the Bushmen and Malaysia and all that, because I think there's lots out there which was not covered in that symposium. Again, look, the idea was, let's keep it small. I mean, I just wanted the thought to go out, so that next year we can do a much larger thing. People can have a look at these and see where what the direction was, or what people were bringing out. Because I think every part of the world there is something traditionally which is available. People have to dig a little. I think that's why that hasn't happened too much in that areas. Because when you speak about the unanimous concept in the Bushmen, there was actually someone in the Symposium on Indigenous Peoples and Mediation who is from Nepal, and of course lives in Thailand now. And in Nepal, the British did not rule. Okay, so it was a protectorate of the British, so they were not ruling over it. So the traditional systems retained themselves. So he comes from a community where he says everything happened on consensus, everything on consensus. And imagine that is available to us. So he has seen that aspect. This is not far away in history. This has happened. Then he says the politics is now taking over. They're now dividing those communities. So the leaders also were totally on consensus. And today, this party says, I am supporting this person. The other one says, I'm supporting this person, and creating the divide. So this is how you see how these structures change communities, and which is what we do not want should happen. So this also tells us how to bring back communities. So that, I think, also, I mean, of course, how small that community has to be. because obviously the Bushmen, you said 25 people and that. So actually, have we really, in relation to community, not being able to define how big that community is or how small it should be, which we should work on, which we'll work on, that whole word mediation circle. The idea is, let's look at circles to an optimum size where people can bring that together. So that's interesting. On the Malaysia one, the parents not being involved and children doing it, I think that's the atmosphere we need to create. That the children, they know everything, they know how to do it. Create that culture that they can resolve it within themselves. The authority figure doesn't come in, because the moment the authority figure comes in, the whole concept of, again, colonization that comes in. The only thing, that one aspect we have to discuss, which we kind of discussed in the World Mediators Conference, whether it's a profession or not, whether it's a way of life. So we'll keep, though this is a discussion, the debate which will happen, we'll keep doing that. So Sezil, interesting. I think you've given a interesting aspect to it. So further, you want to take it forward, please. What else are you going to tell us?
When you said whether a mediation is a professional way of life, I had a sudden answer in my mind saying that why should we choose one of them? I mean, it can be a profession that I do to earn money, do it professionally, and also a way of life. In our trainings, people attend to mediation sometimes to be a professional mediators and sometimes to ease their lives. They are parents, they are teachers, they are managers and leaders in the companies. Everyone has their own reasons to learn how to resolve a conflict, how to transform a conflict, how to manage a conflict, whatever verb you use. They are here to earn a competency and knowledge and to use it in their lives. For example, if you ask me, I may call myself a mediator who performs this professionally and also as a way of life. I can be both, I guess.
But I'll tell you why I keep talking about this aspect is because it is again related to colonization. I'll bring that in. The fact is that a profession, when you call it a profession, there is certain training and a certain kind of qualification. These are the things that a profession is what it's all about. The other aspect is livelihood. So I can have it as a livelihood, but whether it's a profession. Why I want to bring out the distinction is because there are certain things in the world which do not require qualification, because it is the trust of the people. They know whom they want to trust. That is your qualification. If you want to call it a qualification, that's your only qualification. Like they say, like training, they say we'll make a mediator. I say, no one makes mediators. The people in dispute make the mediator, whoever they want to choose. And that's the freedom, like you were saying, in the Ottoman Empire, they choose whoever they want. So this concept of qualification and training, which has been brought in, I feel it's a colonizer's way of coming in, that we will tell you whom to go to. You cannot go to anyone up till we don't tell you that is the person who's qualified to do it. So we have to be able to bring this out in mediation, because that is really not required at all. Because the moment you go in that direction, you're taking away from the people that basic concept of self-determination, that choosing whom they want. So that's the most important part. And the training part of it, there are certain things in life which you don't train. Sezil doesn't have to be trained to be a mother. She doesn't need a qualification to be a mother. Everything is not. This is, again, I'm telling you, this is a colonizer's way of coming in. Then you create the class distinction. Who has the qualification? Who doesn't have the qualification? This is my person. This is not my person. This is superior. This is inferior. This is what a colonizer comes into. That you are an inferior person. You don't know anything. You're not civilized. You're a savage. I am the one who's going to bring something to you. I am going to bring my person. The whole layer of a lawyer which came in, which was brought out by Wale from Nigeria, who was talking about step by step how things happened in Nigeria, said earlier people used to sit together and resolve. Then the British got the concept of this layer of a lawyer. whatever word they would have called it, a lawyer came in. So that lawyer is the one who's going to represent you in front of this person whom the British put there. So you created a layer. So that's how things kept changing. So it was not about the facts, it was how you can twist facts. So
Yeah.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, certainly all the examples in the presentation was related with the concept of not having any trainings and qualifications in order to be a peacemaker or a mediator. So anyone can exercise those powers. By means of power, I mean competencies. Actually, it's the same still in our social lives. If I have a problem with my mother, I go to my aunt and she becomes our mediator. So it goes on like this in our social lives. But in terms of some legal disputes, system requires a trained person to deal with it, because there are lots of paperworks, to be registered somewhere and etc. In Ottoman Empire, also peacemakers registered the settlements into judge system, but it seems like back then there were no such complex legal rules and so many registrations. There are too many details in our law system. I think this can be another critics to our system right now. Our legal systems are too complex. I mean, it's really hard to understand. Legal people also don't understand it. We have too many discussions among us about what does the law say. So as it is really complex, it brings a necessity of having some professionals to do those kind of mediations. Actually, as you said, mediation has nothing to do with paperwork. It's just communication and understanding each other. But as the system provides too many complex ingredients inside it, it brings a necessity of professionalism. So I think what we should look here is the complexity of the legal systems, which I am really opposed to.
Yeah, which is what, again, I'm saying this comes from colonization, that create this whole network of complex things, so that you need someone, first of all, my person who will handle this, then keep enough discretion in that. So you show a structure where in some way we are trying to put to you a rule of law kind of thing, but within the system you have to keep loopholes for people to get out of it. So that's a very complex system that they put in. But what I've been putting out, and I keep saying this, that there is a basic aspect of mediation, which is the process. So the people who are the people, again, chosen by the participants. We're not using the word parties. I don't know whether you know this. We've moved away from parties because participants is what we're going to be using. So they will pick up whom they want. Now comes in the complex aspect of it. If we have to reach that stage, the first thing is, when the process is happening, if you are getting into the legal and totally legal, then anyway it's not going to work. Then you're back to court. That's what it will be like. But there are things that you will discuss where a reasonable, just, fair, equitable person sitting with you, and when you discuss this, that by itself will be legal. What you will come out with, the law has to support it. Just give me 1 second. Just give me 1 second. So basically, what I am trying to put out there is that when required, bring in the expert. Not a problem. Be it a legal expert, be it a technical expert. So this aspect to be divided amongst the process and the domain knowledge has to also be put out there, because it is the trust, first of all. And when there is trust, and when I say the person with the mediator mindset, the person brings in that whole fairness and reasonableness and the equitable aspect of it, all those things will come in, and law has to support that. And I keep saying, if the law doesn't support it, challenge that law, because definitely that law should not exist which is not fair or reasonable or equitable. So I don't see any reason why people should say that the technical aspect is there, so you need a lawyer to come in because the law is involved. Everything law is involved in, everything. So why would you then and I mean, look, you will tell us the Turkish example of how lawyers have to be part of mediation. I mean, I'm not too clear as to what are those situations, but you'll have to do that. But on the other end, when you talk about your mother and having an issue with their going to your aunt, if you cannot choose your aunt to sit with, I think we are living in a dictatorship then, because I should be able to choose whom I want to sit with. Now, are you as a colonizer? I mean, I'm bringing the colonizer because it's colonization discussing. Colonizer does not want you to sit with people, someone, because you could resolving dispute amongst yourself and becoming a community and living together goes against the basic interest of the colonizer. So, are you going to get into people's houses and going to see whom they're sitting with? Can it ever happen? It can never happen. So even the fact to think that you can control mediation, I think it might be a colonizer's mindset, but it's never going to work, because definitely at all points of time you will find someone to sit with and bring into that whole resolving of the dispute. So that's my thought. I mean, yeah.
Um, all we're talking about here is the voluntariness principle in mediation, right? At the end of the day, somehow related with that principle. And I guess voluntariness principle is the principle that is damaged the most in mediation somehow. Self-determination, confidentiality, they are much more easier to apply, but voluntariness has so many exceptions in the system, in different countries, in different sectors, in different applications. It has so many exceptions. And having a professional mediator, a necessity of having a professional mediator is also maybe deemed as one of the exceptions of voluntariness, because you're not able to choose your own mediator. It has to be among certain people in certain type of group. But it also looks a little bit like the same as in the Bushmen, because they also have a necessity. They don't have voluntariness in that principle. They have self-determination, but they don't have voluntariness, because according to their system, if one of the participants avoid the conflict and leave the circle, they find and bring him back. So a solution is mandatory. They don't have voluntariness in that sense. In our professional mediation system, or in our mandatory court-related mediation systems, I think they're a little bit the same. They all have some sort of damages in the voluntariness principle. But a mindset which is totally free out of the colonized mindset requires 100% voluntariness, which seems a little bit far from us today. We still need further steps to reach 100% voluntariness and get free out of colonized mindset. And I think we are approaching, but still we need to take some further steps, as you have described right now. For example, having an opportunity to choose a professional mediator or a person who can mediate, who has the competency. That's all. So I agree with you, but I think that we should work on voluntariness principle, and we have some way to still go.
Because I tell you that when we look at the Bushman example, I am still looking at it from the consensus aspect of it, that it is consensus. So they bring this person back in and understand what this person really feels about it and explain to the person, because consensus means everyone has to agree finally. That's what the consensus concept is. So you make the person understand. If there is a communication breakdown, bring that communication in. Who does that, whether the whole lot does it, or for one person knows how to talk to this person and then bring them into the thing. So I'm just, because look, I mean, I don't know exactly how they're doing it there, but I have a thought on this, and I still feel that, of course, it's always who are the people, how many people, because consensus building, it is something which should happen, but as larger communities develop, how are we going to do it, and how do we use technology for it? Because I've been saying that why can't all this the dialogue and all that takes place, why does it have to be in closed rooms? Why can't the community through YouTube, everyone's watching, they can contribute? So we should be looking at from the larger perspective as to how we are going to change things rather than tinkering with the structure. We think that, okay, this is what it is. Now let us try and improve this. No, maybe the whole building has to fall to create something new. I think that's the mindset that I want to bring out, that why are you looking at a structure and then thinking of changes there? Think of it. I've told someone else, I've been telling everyone, think you have a blank slate, okay? Blank canvas. How would you want dispute resolution to be handled in your country, in your community, wherever it has to be? How do you would want you to have what you want to handle? And I'm telling you, people are still, because the colonized mindset is there, they are not able to think so freely. It's just the structure comes into the mind and how we can play with the structure. So Sezil is going to now think there is a blank canvas she's been given. How would you build it up, looking at the Ottoman Empire or Bushmen or Malaysia or her thought process, everything together? How you're going to do it? That you have to do. Today you can give if you want to give a brief thing, but I think we'll build this up as a separate session and sessions where people will talk about openly. I mean, it's like open concept. You do blank canvas. It doesn't matter whether someone would agree to do it, a country would agree. We are not concerned. Whether governments will accept it or not, we're not concerned, because the colonized mindset has come there also. Let's try and do this. So what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, I have 5 minutes to structure a whole conflict resolution system in the society. So I will prefer an answer of not giving an answer here. So I'm not able to do it, but designing something, designing of a structure in the society is one of the hardest things that you can do. So you need a lot of opinions from a lot of different backgrounds. It is one of the hardest things, but it is a valuable question that maybe can be a subject of a different conference or a meeting. But when you say reaching a consensus, like in the Bushmen, we should also evaluate what happens if we don't want to come to a consensus. What if we want to avoid? Because in the Bushmen, they don't have a chance to avoid. And it's a right, it's a human right to avoid certain things. So here we are damaging their voluntariness in terms of avoiding the conflict. For example, this can be a question whether avoiding a conflict is a colonized mindset or not letting people to avoid the conflict is a colonized mindset. I don't know which one. I have no idea. But it's just a question mark when you tell
what I'm thinking, let's just say hi to Guna. Guna, please come in, say hi to Sezil. And look, this discussion is going to go on, but it's a good idea. We'll do a workshop on this. Let's do a workshop on this aspect of blank slate, and let's take it from there. But say hi to Guna and then we can move it. Hi, Guna.
Hi, Sezil.
Hi, Guna.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
What about me? No hi to me, only hi to Sezil.
Of course, the wonderful Vikram.
So, of
for
course,
organizing all this.
So basically, Guna was so nice to change her slot. That was good. And
My pleasure.
And Cecil, the discussion definitely, look, the thing is, like, of course, time constraint is there. So what we were doing, Guna, is I asked Cecil that supposing you're given a blank canvas and you have to create dispute resolution system in a society, how would you do it? So of course, it's a long discussion. So what we're going to do is we'll have a workshop after the symposium sometime in October, only to do this blank canvas. How would you go about it? Take whatever, because she had in her session given examples from the Bushmen and Malaysia also. What is it called? What system is that in Malaysia, Cecil?
Bukhara. Guna,
Bukhara.
I was talking about the system in primitive tribes in Malaysia before you came in.
We have primitive tribes, and because it's a multicultural society, it's a little bit more complicated.
So Guna will take us through that. So Cecil, a 1 minute concluding thing, please, your concluding remarks, and then
Yeah, in order to complete, maybe I may say that, maybe underline again that either in big empires and colonist systems, or in primitive tribes in Africa, or in rainforests in Malaysia, whatever you are in, we need social mechanisms that make to communicate easier. So every culture is about having a knowledge and experience and having an opportunity. If we have an opportunity, it brings experience and knowledge. If we have an experience, it creates opportunities. So it's not a linear relation, but it's more of a circular relation. So having social mechanisms to negotiate, communicate is the best way we can do. And I think mediation, with its ups and downs, is one of the best tools to do it.
Absolutely. I think the important thing is when you say social networks, I think developing communities and having, I mean, the whole concept of communities may have broken up. So we'll have to look at that also. So we'll do that workshop. So Sezil, thank you very much. And of course, it was wonderful that you did your research and interesting research and good thoughts, and we'll take it forward from there. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. Have a nice day. See you.
Thank you.